mission, I'ma get it. You know I be on a what? Yeah. You know I be on a what? Man on a mission, I'ma get it. You know I be on
What's up, and welcome to another exciting episode of Ride the Rebellion podcast. I am Drew Hall. With me today is the king of the South Alabama Turndown. Though in his absence, me and Jakey Poo spent some time. Can you hit the mute button? Look for the speaker. There it is. One of those. Or just something. And the only man I allow to mute my machine. Dale Boyd of Dale Boyd.
Wait, let's go back to what did you and Jakey Poo do without me?
Jake and I were like, that's not even. Somebody said something. Did you do a little turn down? And I said, that's why it's called the South Alabama turn down, because Jake's like, that's not a turn down. I was like, I understand, Jake. That's why it's called the South Alabama turn down. He was like, a turn down is like this. And we stood there. It was me, Jake, and Gabe. And he's trying to show him how to do one. And Gabe's like, yeah, that looks like a turn down. He's like, no, it's not a turn down. A turn down your bikes. And so yesterday, Monday, driving back from Hattiesburg, I get a text message. All it is a picture, because Jake texts like a 70-year-old man,
yes.
And it said turn down. That's all I got.
And it's like more of the bikes just turn.
That's all it is. I mean,
fair.
but it was on a DJ. It was like somebody doing it like the right way.
That's why it's called the South Alabama one.
Right.
Because I even know that it's not a real turn down.
That's the whole thing. It's your thing then.
Yeah, it's my
the
thing.
funnier part is Jake misses the point. We branded a new maneuver. You have a move.
A signature move.
It's a signature move. On Tony Hawk, you would have to have your bar unlocked, and you'd have to do a little combo button to get it, and you'd get awesome. Like cool little stars or
up,
something.
Up, down, BACA, BAW. I forgot the Contra one.
There's not a C.
I know, but that's why I lost it.
AB select start. Select start if you had a friend.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, start if you were just a loser.
That's a deep cut for our listeners for sure.
Oh, our listener bracket totally understands that garbage. All right, well, welcome to the show. If this is your first time listening, or actually maybe it's your first time listening after the world's greatest episode that apparently played last episode, did really well. And if you're just hanging out, this show is basically like the conversation at the front of the trailhead or after the ride, depending on how saucy we feel. Is that fair to say? That's
100% fair. And sometimes it's just something we want to get off our chest because we have a platform.
That's true too. We are not influencers. We're not influencers. We're influencers. We go viral in the worst way. No, the purpose of this show is to have a real conversation about biking. That's the same reason why, if you listen to last episode, what we appreciate about everything they're doing at Escape is that they're putting out real news, and we're a real podcast. We're not funded by anyone. We do have sponsors, and we'll talk about those in about 3 seconds. I'll start with the first one, which is Summit Bike Academy. I got to tell you, we've talked about it before, and this sounds like this shameless shit. I'm going to talk about this a little bit later on the show, but my riding has changed yet again, because I think it's fair to say that we all progress as riders. I mean, arguably you progress as a rider.
I've done it all.
Right.
And except for the spandex wearing drop bar shit.
You're gonna go for the roadie stuff?
No, I just can't. I can't. I'm sorry. No
is
offense.
that because of the spandex part? If roadie culture was capes, would you do it? Like if you had a big cape behind you? No. There's nothing that I respect them, and I enjoy watching them in crit races go really fast. What if it was just downhill luge style racing on a downhill on a road bike?
Nope.
Not even that.
No,
wow.
It just doesn't. Every time I've even done anything close to like a gravel ride, I mean, I know that gravel rides are fun and
gravel rides are great,
fun, but there's like a moment of boredom that I just can't. I'm just like, all right, you guys do this for hours. Like I need something.
Yeah. It's a mental thing.
Like it's almost like I'll just take a route straight to the old Coxus, override on the road. Coxus. That's not. I'm not.
That
a
was
doctor.
like a total Beavis and Butthead because we both laughed at it. Yeah. So Summit Bike Academy. One of the things, as my riding's changed, the thing that I do appreciate very much about what Toby does, and his team. But I had my classes with Toby and at the time Nina. But what they did is they instilled a very great base level for me. And that base level has been able to adapt to multiple pieces I've gone along. So my riding has changed a little bit more. I'm much more aggressive XC. I'm a little more aggressive even on my jumping and downhill stuff, but I'm more obsessed with harder pushes and endurance rides. And so a lot of those techniques, like I get bored too. But my whole thing is, and I'll talk about it later, is I find other things to keep me entertained. And luckily, I have the skill set to make sure I'm not just riding mindlessly like a good little roadie. Just not riding mindlessly along. And no offense to roadies, we like all cyclists. It's a joke, but that side of it. So there it is, Summit Bike Academy.
There's something to add to that. I think that when you are on those endurance rides, the skills that you learned at Summit, when you're exhausted and you're tired and you are just trying to get through, you go back and fall back on those skills. Like, hey, this is where I need those skills more than just keeping the bike up.
No, that's a good point. So and that's very true.
Valuable.
Especially like I went on a blitzkrieg this past weekend. So like long rides. And a lot of times what I'll do is, a blitzkrieg bop. A lot of times I will literally ride to the bike park, which is a chunk of miles, and then I'll crash on the bike park, have a good time, and then ride back. And so you definitely need that. The other thing I was going to mention is I got to tell you, I follow Build Tune Ride on their Instagram, and it just was like this picture of a shock with oil and like, and it was so pornographic that I just laughed. It was completely like naked bike porn.
It was pretty funny. I think Todd even commented on it. Yeah. Change the oil on that.
Yeah.
It's pretty funny. It was good. Stuff. Yeah.
If you've not been over to Build Tune Ride, I highly suggest going over their site. It's a good site. He did a good job with it. But if you're looking for an intense bike, literally the brand, then I definitely go to Jody first. At least call him with questions, because he may be able to help you in a way. Even if you're not in the area, I do think he could probably help you in a way, and at least figure out a way, or at least advise you. And Jody's a good enough dude that he's going to be pissed for me saying this. He would probably do that for free because he's just a good person. And he's a fellow, I'm coining this, psychologist, in the sense that see why? Has that already been taken?
Probably.
Okay.
Yeah, I think there's a shirt of it.
Son of a bitch. If it's on Etsy, it doesn't matter. It doesn't count. Etsy is just a rip-off station. So.
That's fair. It's like China of the United States.
It is 100%. Etsy is China of the United States. But anyway, if you haven't been over there, check it out. It's worth it. Also, if you need your suspension serviced, I can tell you, Jody is who I would go to. Like 100%, hands down. Box it up, ship it to him. Call him, have a conversation. He'll set you up with it. And then if you're lucky enough, maybe he'll invite you to come ride there, because it's pretty rad too.
I've learned something recently, and that is that we don't owe bike shops or businesses our business. We owe them the opportunity to get our business.
That's right.
And I think that you given Jody the opportunity, you're going to go there.
Yeah.
Like
100%.
he's going to make you a customer for life.
No, 100%.
Not a bad boy for life, but a customer for life.
Speaking of bad boys, the only bad boy I know.
We can't talk about him on this show.
Oh, yeah, he didn't pay, right?
No, not the real bad boy.
No, I was talking about
the breaking news from P. Diddy world.
Oh, I wasn't talking about that. I was talking about bad boys, Kevin Black.
Oh, he's a bad boy for sure.
Kevin Black is a bad boy, but not the P. Diddy type of bad boy.
No.
He's if you're a bad boy and you need a bad boy tattoo, I don't even know what any of that means.
That'd be a good one.
Do you remember, was Bad Boy a clothing line when you were younger?
Remember with the flex guy?
That's what
spiky
it was.
hair?
Yep.
Yeah, I want one of those. Or a
no
tattoo
fear of that?
Yeah, let's get that and a no fear thing. Remember?
Listen, I swear to God, if we hit 1,000 YouTube views on this video,
oh God, yeah, I'm getting
in the first 6 months, Dale and I will get
bad boy tattoos.
A bad boy tattoo. I'm not going to say what size.
Right.
And then if we get 1 million views, I will get No Fear on my neck.
Oh man,
No Fear logo on my neck. I probably go out of business after that, but it'll be all right.
This will be the first paid video that we've ever done. I'm just gonna do it in my own pocket. Get sponsorship.
Some asshole, probably Joey Gates, is out there, and he's "Oh, don't worry, I've got the cryptocurrency." Got the crypto. Guys, if you don't know what we're talking about, if you're not friends with him, one of our guys got hacked so bad that they acted like they were putting up a billboard, and I mean, this was a brilliantly terrible hack.
It made it look like it was post from him.
Yeah,
like literally,
like, hey guys, I bought a billboard.
Yeah,
right.
There was no links in it, just pictures, and then they like superimposed his name on certificates, and it put his picture on billboards and things like that.
But the picture they used, he's just he looks so inebriated.
His new crypto, and I got more phone calls over Joey's fake crypto. Like people asking me, like, Joey's rich now? I'm like, I don't know. The guy gets rich, and now we just make fun of him.
No, it's fantastic. Speaking of guys that get rich, let's talk about Aaron's feet.
They're rich with run and try juice because he paces back and forth in the shop all the time.
Actually, what's funny to me is when you go see him in the store, with you, it's a little bit different because you guys. But when I go see him, he's like, "Oh, hi, Drew. How are you?" Yeah, he's very serious. He's like, he's like at a PGA tournament. I'm here. He's stepping up for a putt for par. This will be for par. Try these shoes on. Then outside of it, he's like, "Yeah, I know, it's fucking awesome."
Yeah, he's that's the one I get.
Yeah,
there's also multiple versions. I love Aaron. He's I never know what I'm going to get when the phone call rings.
This is the greatest.
Which is probably about to happen.
Probably. But I do bring it up because I got another pair. I talked about this, and then I've gotten better because he and I talked about cycling my shoes a little bit more, just so I can get a little more longevity. It's also a great excuse to buy more shoes because I'm like, oh, these shoes. I'm not like a shoe junkie, but I'm enough to like these have purpose, and once their purpose gets, I've tried it. Once the shoe gets worn out, it's worthless.
That's right. So it 100% is.
There we go. All right, well, that's our sponsor roll. Now that you've made it through that section, if you've been fast forwarding, listening to us talk like chipmunks, that was awfully nice of you.
We need to have a intermission song so people know where to stop.
Right? It's that little cartoon. After these messages, we'll be right back. Whoa. That's what you guys probably don't remember that.
I remember it.
There's a little horse claymation. Yeah. All right, so we didn't have a whole lot to talk about, except I wanted to go over a few things that have been popping up in our conversation. So this is kind of a Q&A, ask me anything type scenario, and just throwing some thoughts out there. One of the things is that on this show, we talk an awful lot about community and riding together and all this stuff, but I'm going to go ahead and be the asshole in the room and say, I have found that I didn't understand it at first. And this is straight calling out it. I'm going to just take some shit for this. I didn't understand it at first, but I do now know why so many of the old guys ride by themselves. I 100%.
I told you.
I know. I get it now. I didn't.
I told you.
But there is the difference is like, if I know I'm going to get a group ride, then I'm okay with it. If I'm not going to get a group ride, I'll pick a group ride over solo ride all the time. Right. If that's the only ride I'm going to get. But if I know I'm going to get a group ride, then I can ride solo the rest of the week and be thrilled. And the reason I say that is because there's a couple things going on. One, there's this is where I'm an asshole. There's very few in my riding circle, not of my whole community, but because there's some dudes that will smoke me. But there's very few people that are at my level or nice enough to throttle themselves to my level. Most people aren't quite putting in the same miles I am. So they get gas, which means I have to slow down considerably, which sucks. Right. I'm a douchebag. I don't want to slow down right now. I'm on a training regimen. And then the other side of it is a lot of people don't want to ride the way I'm riding. I like to ride like distance and trail at the same time. So I try and always work in somewhere you're doing single track and you're doing urban, or I'm just doing crazy urban, like the hobosexual loops. Because you don't know that story about that place, do you?
No, I do.
Oh, okay.
I went there.
It's still active.
Oh, you saw it?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, it was creepy. I got a terrible story about it. But that whole...
Tokyo Gardens?
Dude, it's just not okay. Nothing wrong with that. I think it's not okay to publicly...
fish for koi fish in a koi pond?
With no koi in it?
Yeah.
Being koi?
Oh, we're being very koi.
Yeah.
If you're local to Mobile, you know exactly what we're talking about.
100%.
And you've been to those train tracks.
And I think most cities probably have that scenario. And it's an unfortunate thing, but it's disgusting to be done in public. Like, it doesn't matter what scenario. Anyway. But I found that I've started enjoying that more. I think it's the same way to an extent, maybe where you're at on building trails by yourself.
I do. Yes.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So while you have time to go build by yourself, I don't get any time to ride by myself. And I think that's where I'm at. I need a little bit of that.
You see that there's more progress done the smaller the group.
Yes.
No offense.
No, it's
just the way it is. When you got too many chefs in the kitchen, nothing gets cooked.
It's that. I think I think there's another mix of, there's something about the solo ride of being completely stuck by myself. So I wouldn't do it on anything really crazy, but even like I went to Toughburg and I rode Toughburg and I got very fortunate. A guy passed me, or was their track is a lot like South where it's overlapping single. And the guy came along and I was like, "Hey man, am I going the right way?" And he was like, "You're not. Let me show you where to go." Cause I will say Toughburg it's really tight. It's a lot of tight turns, but it's not marked at all.
Oh.
It's really tough.
In
fact, I'm calling him out on it. Like as a person that's never ridden there, I would have never found I would have ridden nothing. Like, I'm
Right.
not going to ride your trails. And maybe you want that. Maybe you want it private. But after this guy showed me, it was cool. I can talk about that another time. But he knew Rob Burgess, so shout out to Burgess. And it was fun. But that guy at least led me, so I didn't mind having that. But I don't know this dude, so it's basically like a solo ride.
Right.
At that point. We're kind of talking back.
So you're into bikes, man? Cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Right.
All right. Nice
What do you
Maxes.
do? And he's like, commercial real estate. And I was like, oh, Dale Boyd of Dale Boyd Sports Management does commercial, did real estate. He was like, he does commercial? I was like, sure didn't. This guy does.
Now he does commercials.
That's right. But point being is, like, I was prepared to ride solo. And so I'm not saying that I'm always that way, but that guy was nice enough. He was like, oh man, I just got back from vacation. I haven't ridden in 3 days. And this dude was pushing me.
Yeah.
I mean, he was in great shape. So it was nice for me. So it let me push up against his side of stuff. So my point being is, like, unpopular opinion, but I don't think if your excuse is that you have no one to ride with, I'm now saying that's bullshit. And you can just get out and ride, like even an urban ride. Just be very careful. On my way back yesterday from, I can't say exactly, I rode trails. You probably read the post. I rode trails and got close to the bike park. On the way back from the bike park, I wear aftershocks. So this is not a commercial for them, but I'm going to say don't do earbuds for this reason. Safety, 100%. As I'm coming back, I hear, I look and I'm about to cross over a road and the light's green. I'm like, hell yes, full throttle. So I start pedaling. So I'm just going to zip through because there's no traffic. There's no turn. I'm safe to make it run through. And as I'm going, I get closer and I am cranking down and I hear, and I'm like, oh my God, what is that? And right about that time, I pull my brakes and I start to skid because I don't know what it is. Crotch rocket zips by. And about 3 seconds later, a police car in pursuit.
Well, sums up my road cycling opinions.
There it is.
That's just another notch in the old bedpost.
It was rough, dude. And so I'm sitting there and I'm like, well, man, this was garbage. Point being, again, solo, that was fine. Aftershocks, very important. I highly suggest those. But it's one of those times of, like, that's the other side of the urban ride. It doesn't scare me from it. You just got to pay attention to what's going on.
So all the way back after that, I agree that there's times when solo is way better for everything.
Yeah. I'm training right now too, though.
And that's definitely, you can't train with other people usually. No. Maybe mix them in every once in a while. But back to the community, the original question, I saw that posted and I thought about it for a minute. I know we've beaten a dead horse with it just because we've kind of gone through our trials and tribulations of building a community. And
we're not going to stop talking about it.
No, because it's something that other people can learn from, but we didn't build it from scratch. And I think that's, I mean, there was already a community here. We just kind of molded it into something that benefited us.
Yep.
So I think if you're trying to get off the ground, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Right. Go find the people that are already a community and kind of maybe, I don't know that this was our community's problem is there was too many separate groups, and it maybe still is partly a problem.
And arguably, though, to the solo point, this is part of the reason why I'm glad you segued so eloquently, is there's a lot of people riding solo that didn't want to ride with
right,
anybody
exactly,
else.
And you find those people.
And right, but then there's also the same time, like those individuals, you can't worry about them.
Right.
Like if I decide to never show up at another group ride, who gives a shit? Right? Because I'll show up somewhere else. But if I never show up again, then I'm not part of your community. Let me go. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, we don't have to try to cater to you any longer.
Right.
As a community.
That's right.
Like you're still on the fringes and the trails will still be there for you. But that's kind of what I've had to, and I've had this talk with you many times. Like I try to please everyone.
Right.
And it's impossible.
You can't.
And I've tried so hard to be like, hey, but we got to make sure they're okay with this. And it's like, just drive the bus that I've been taught by the soft member to bring him back up. Like the bus is rolling.
Yep.
You can either find a seat on the bus or you can stay and wave at the bus.
Yep.
We're not running anyone over. The bus is just moving.
100%.
And it's in a different direction that maybe you're uncomfortable with. So watch the bus for a little while. How many people have gotten on the bus that otherwise weren't?
Yeah.
A ton of people have said, wait a minute, that looks really fun. And even those guys that ride solo, like, don't exclude them, but you don't have to include them. So,
correct.
Like, if they're in the
don't be offended if they don't show up.
Exactly. Yeah, but a lot of times, like, the guys that ride solo will pop in and be like, hey, what time's your guys' group ride? I don't want to ride, but I'll hang out in the parking lot before or after.
Yep.
And that's kind of the thing is, like, they still want to be part of it, but they want to get their ride in. And I think that that's fine. That's the community is more than just hanging out in the parking lot, right? Sometimes for us, it's more like mental health and friendship and brotherhood. But you can let them go ride their bike and come hang out with you. You don't have to shun them for not riding with you.
100%.
So there's that. The other part of it is like, get involved and don't think that like the parking lot is the only place that you're building a community, right? Get involved in helping to build the trail system. And then if you're even more in depth, like get involved with helping find out about the public, like how you can get funding for trails and how you can go about propelling trail systems and things like that. It's a daunting task and very, very thankless, but
oh no, I mean,
worth it.
You've got to want to build a community, not because you want a podcast. We did not build the community with the idea of a podcast. The podcast came out of like, hey, we talk about bikes. Maybe we should do a podcast.
And we like to hear ourselves talk a lot.
That's right.
So we figured we may as well record it so like 3 other people can hear it too.
Right. Cause we thought it was funny. But it had nothing to do with anything more than starting it. Right. So it doesn't matter about a lot. Like if Dale accounted for the amount of time he really put in to manage Samba, which is our local IMBA chapter, the amount of time he put in to manage the Reb, the amount of time he put in to be a quasi trail boss at the Reb, if you took all of that, Dale would be a very depressed Dale.
No kidding. And still broke.
Right. And so I think you've got to know that it's thankless. You've got to do it because you love it. Like at the end of the day, truly, if the only option for some reason, if all the bike parks closed and the Reb went away and the only way we could ride our bikes was some other format, I know for a fact we would rogue trail the shit out of it and figure it out. That's what we would do. That's what he would do. He would set that up himself. Like we would just make it happen. And I think when you're building a community, if you find there's people first, which it's weird if you think about the Reb, the way that our scenario unfolded was that we had a group of people. We were all riding as part of Samba, part of the IMBA chapter, still are, most of us. But then we all kind of spun off because we wanted to build downhill lines. And so the park helped give us another common piece to build off of. But that's not where the community was already there, to your point.
That's right.
Like we didn't change something else. What we did do is we started sticking together with the group of people and we invited, you can't be exclusive. You just get, let me rephrase that. You can be inclusive without being an asshole.
That's right.
You can also be exclusive without being an asshole. You do want to make sure that the people you're bringing in our instance fit the private mark at the park side of things, at the Reb side of things. But on the other side of it, the rest of the group has just grown more and more. Now people show up because they want to ride, because they want an opportunity to go to the Reb, because there's prerequisites. Do the same thing. Make your group ride that's the most badass group ride in the world. Like Nixon.
Even if it's not the most badass, make it look like it is.
Make it look like it is. And then it's the field of dreams.
Fake it till you make it.
That's right. Totally right.
The other thing that just back on the community thing real quick is if you're beginning and you're starting to get things rolling in your community and there's momentum, you don't have to do every single thing all at once.
Right.
Like there's races, there's events, there's cookouts, there's group rides, there's nighttime things, there's Saturday things, there's Sunday things. It doesn't have to happen all at once.
Yep.
So don't think like this community is doing that and that and that and that. Yeah, they built up to that. Because what I've learned very, very quickly is no one's going to show up if you have all these events, because they're like, oh, I'll skip that one and I'll go to that one. I'll skip this one, I'll go to this one. But there's another thing about being consistent. If you're consistent and everybody knows that consistently if you have an event and you're going to have an event, it's going to be that day. It's not getting canceled I have events that I don't know who's coming to.
Yep.
And I still show up.
Yep.
Because I said I was going to be there.
Yep.
And if it's going to rain, we all know Dale's rain rule.
Yeah.
Which is show up.
Yeah.
So it's being consistent and don't do everything all at once. Like slow play the whole growth of it. And that's, you won't get burnt out that way, hopefully.
Also, I'd say a big piece of advice that we have to tell ourselves rather constantly. We don't say it exactly this way, but I'll say it directly into the lens or into the microphone for those listening. You're going to be discouraged. You're going to be discouraged a lot. You're going to be like, no one gives a shit. No one cares. You got to just keep going. All I know to tell you is you just have to keep going, because every community, ups and downs. We have cycles. You're all going to have cycles. Granted, we're on a podcast talking about all this shit, but I will tell you, and we've talked about it before, there are days right now that I don't understand. We have perfect weather right now, and there's nobody at the bike park. There's literally nobody anywhere. And whether they have family commitments or other things going on, because it's beautiful, I get it. I'm not saying you got to drop everything. it just blows me away sometimes that where there's been 20, 30 people, there may be 2 or 3 or 4. And it's the same 2 or 3 or 4 people that I see all the time, which is great too. So you're going to get discouraged, but at the same time, you just have to let it ebb and flow, and it'll be what it's going to be. The community is going to be what it wants to be, not what you want it to be.
That's right.
Because the more you steer it, the more it's going to push back. That's just the reality of it. And you may not see that pushback in the beginning, but eventually it'll get there. That's where the Reb kind of came from. And then it became the community again. Like it equalized.
Yeah.
It really did. And then everybody benefits from the equalization rather. So just something to keep in mind. Yeah. Did you have anything else to that?
I'm sure there is, but we've talked about community on this podcast, and we are not experts. We just know what we've tried and failed.
Yeah, we're just honest.
Yeah,
I think the bigger difference is we're honest.
Just being real about it.
There's no bullshit on this. Like if you're trying to build community.
Another thing is don't do the community for the wrong reasons. Like don't do it for your ego. Don't do it for money. Don't do it for anything other than the community.
Yep.
Because it's not about you. Think about this. If I don't show up, the community is still going to ride without me. The community is still going to do things without me. So it's not about me. So don't make yourself bigger than the community, or don't make yourself more important than the community, and don't ever say I.
Right.
Like I learned that early on. Like it's we.
Yep.
If you're trying to do a community thing, don't ever say I did this, I built this, or I did that, I did this. I mean, I do that when I'm telling somebody about what I built because I'm proud of it. But
that's different.
It's different. I'm saying like the community itself, like an event. Don't say if you're hosting something, don't say I got together with the, say we got together and made this thing. That's very important. It's an optic thing.
Yeah, 100%. There's also, we always used to say, don't be a little king in a little kingdom.
Mm-hmm.
It's just stupid.
It is stupid.
Another thing that got brought up, and this relates back to all of it, community wise or whatever, is just the types of riders. Like I started out by talking about solo riding and, how a lot of those guys give. And I threw some shade just based on, my goals as a rider. That's not to condemn anyone, not do you boo, but there's a lot of different types. I know that like, one of the things that got brought up in here, and I don't know really what to talk about. It's not really our vibe, but even like bike packing type stuff, those guys are riding, they're putting in John, Mackey, who's been on the show before, that dude, and, Don, who's never been on the show, who would be CJ.
They ride together.
They all ride together and they do these insane, Joseph Bolton that was on the show. Mm-hmm. These guys have done these really high mileage, insanely competitive,
like 300 plus
mile, massive bike packing races. Yes. Right. And then we have guys on the other side that are casual, like shout out to Dennis and Samuel who like took on a monster, for a casual ride, took on a monster bike packing trip and did their thing. And so it's kind of like, you got to keep that in perspective too. Whereas that 300 miler is obviously for media reasons, pretty sexy. Those guys still put in the work and did the job on that side too, to get, they did like 150 or 60 or I don't know. It doesn't matter. Like they did their own ride and they're proud of that ride. So part of the other side of it is just talking about those other pieces. Some of that stuff, when you think about your team or your community or your group, again, you're not going to please everyone, but appreciate what everybody's effort is at the end of the day, I think is really where I'm going with all that stuff. You have anything to add?
No, I'm good with it. I like it. I think and applaud your community members, right? If somebody does something good, share it. Be proud of it. Be happy for them. Not jealous. And again, just let your ego go. Like, be like, well, you did it in 5 hours. I could have done it in 3. Like, who gives a shit?
Right.
Like, my wife doesn't care where I finish a race.
Right.
She doesn't know how to read.
Right.
So she doesn't even know where I finished.
Jesus.
So
we haven't had a Casey joke in so long.
Actually, I pulled that one back out of the Skyway archives. And if you were around me at that race, there was I'll just go ahead and flash the Skyway because it's coming up in 2 weeks, April 13th. If you guys want to come, we're having a Skyway event.
Oh yeah, there's a little secret party.
Yes.
It's not a party. We can't say party. I didn't say party.
AIDS station. We'll be at the Bull
it's
Gap.
AIDS station.
We'll be at the Bull Gap, helping some awesome riders get through some stuff. But when I was doing the race, somebody was in the way I was in the way probably of somebody else at an aid station on the way back in. And we're 6 hours into this race and it's 68-ish miles and we're just all chilling, Some guy's like, out of the way. I was like, dude, out of the way. What are you talking about? Are you in the 100 mile? He's like, no, I'm in the 60. I'm like, bro, if you're worried about where you're finishing right now, don't, because everybody's already home.
Yeah.
And I said, my wife doesn't care where I finish. Actually, my wife doesn't know how to read, so I finished in first. And he just stared at me in this blank stare. And I'm like, all right, you don't get it. Just get out of his way, people. Like, it was just kind of like, it's just have fun, man.
Yeah. I mean, that's all you can do. So it's interesting you bring that up because one of the other things that popped up in this conversation was the DJ asked about he wants to hear riders talk about it, but right now you got me and Dale, whatever we are.
DJ, have you ever heard our riding stories?
Yes. What gives them the fizz?
Yeah.
What's the feeling they're chasing after?
What's your why?
Yeah, I mean, I don't. Mine changes a lot. If you spend any time with me, or you know about my career path or what I've done, like I am not a sit still. I do not like to do the same thing over and over. I hate repetition. Mm-hmm. It's important, and I train for it, and I'm trying to get better at it. That's what these rides are that I've been doing lately, the solo stuff. But like I'm not a big fan of repetition, so I don't like this.
You can't say that word.
Can't even say it.
Do a section over and over again.
Yeah, re-ride.
That's a flashback to an old podcast where we said we hated words.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Session is one of the words that I hate that people say.
That's Dale's evil word. But I don't even like to do that. After a while, I get bored.
Right.
I like to ride the entirety of the trail knowing that I'm going to work on something. I will do that, and I will ride it a few times, but it doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to commit. So I think for me, the fizz is always changing. We've talked about the mental health side of it, but I will say I will always chase first trail feeling. And we've talked about that. Like I always want first ride feeling. Sometimes it doesn't mean I can accomplish the goal. Right. It means I might take a beeline. It means I might do something, but that first ride feeling to experience it, you'll never have that again. So I'm always chasing that first ride. I absolutely. And just as a pro tip, do not follow Dale. Okay, go ahead.
So I think mine is, I like the first ride feeling though. I was just thinking about that. And like, we spent some time in Ruston, and the first ride was amplified because where you start is so grand on the top of a waterfall.
Yeah.
And it's like, you think, damn, this better be sweet. And then it hits all your expectations and you're like, oh my God, there's 4 more. Like I got to hurry up and get back up there to do all the other ones.
100%.
So that first ride stuff is pretty sweet to me. The thing about me is like, mine is like, I need to go work out today. What am I going to do? Am I going to ride? Am I going to run? Or am I going to build?
The exercise part.
So it's like, I'm not chasing anything anymore, just my personal fitness.
But arguably though, we've talked about this before, the fitness side. And so understand, I want everyone to know on this show, when we talk about fitness, there is absolutely, I'm using the F-bomb here, so not safe for workers, be prepared. There's absolutely no fucking condemnation in our talk about fitness.
Right.
None. You do you, 100%. Right. But I will tell you, scientifically speaking, it is proven, but also for myself, and I know for him, because we've talked about it, if we do not exercise, our mental clarity suffers from it. I can't even go on vacation without adding some level of run or whatever. I have to do something.
I have my best workouts on vacation.
Right. 100%.
Yeah.
Well, there's a weird part. I heard about this theory on that too, but the psychological thing.
Oh yeah. It's awesome. I love waking up early.
There's a broken barrier. There's no barrier.
Oh yeah. It's like,
it's weird.
There's a lot of people working out.
But to your point though, that fitness part, it is, so that is part of the fizz for me. That's always there. Cause I know that if I don't get that endorphin hit, that endorphin hit, once you get used to it, I can't live without it.
I think I agree with that completely. And I think the other thing that I chase sometimes is like that my ego creeps in, and that thing of like, if it creeps, it's like the Radiohead creep. Yeah, it creeps in, and it's like, man, if I don't do this, I can't continue to talk as much shit as I do, and I cannot continue. Like I've got to stay on my game.
Oh my God,
you can't get caught slipping.
Yeah, that's good. Good for you.
It's true though. Like that drives me a little bit.
How do you think it's gonna feel with a less shiny bike?
Let's not. We're still not talking about it. I don't know.
If you're in the know, then you understand the torture.
It's gonna be okay. gonna be okay. I'll just have to
ride
wear
harder.
No, my new kit's gonna be like foil, aluminum foil, like my
Holy
whole
shit!
jersey.
If you could figure that out, oh my god.
Well, yeah. What happened to Dad? Well, he melted in the South Alabama heat because he was cooking the whole time he was riding.
he's like a Jiffy Pop.
Yeah,
I'm gonna get you a Jiffy Pop jersey and made of foil. You can just wear it one time if you don't die, just once.
But actually, another thing that I chase a lot of, and this comes back to the building thing. Do you see how I dropped and changed the subject?
Yeah,
I like this excitement other people get.
Okay, that's what I was going to go with because I was going to talk about last FNL.
Yeah, like when I see people's faces, it's like, dude, this is why. Like, this is why I spent all this time alone. This is why we bitch.
But
about
that's
things.
Trail Builder.
But it's still rider though. Like,
yeah, the rider is, but I don't think the riders appreciate it as much as.
No.
So right. to set this up, we had an FNL. 2 young people decided to come out. Shout out to Logan and Presley, fantastic human beings. You guys don't realize what you brought a lot of great energy, but both of them are young. They're enthusiastic, and they got to ride the Rev for the first time. And riding with them, like, and Logan in tow, like hauling ass and doing stuff. And then later, Presley's like wanting to send this Taco Bell jump, and she hits it. Mm-hmm. The joy on their face. Those are things that people built, that our team built. That's our park that we're proud of. But there's really 4 of us that, not that everybody didn't contribute, but 4 of us have done the majority of the initial trail work. 5, I guess. Their faces, it's the same though, that you had that even with other riders. So it's not just bringing the fresh meat in, right? It's with me going down that trail that you and Pat are working on, and you hit that berm. And then I immediately... After on Sunday, I took people over and had them hit it, and they all had the feeling. It's contagious because it's when something is built well in that development, you vibed on that. So that's a fantastic point.
Yeah, I love it. It's like I can't wait to take it to the masses.
Right.
We've talked about other situations, and it's like I can't wait to show other people what we can do.
Right.
Not what we can do. I mean the community.
But what the trails can do for you.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Be not what you can do, but what can the trails do? Is that something?
That's pretty sick. That sounds like a
shirt.
Is that
close to like?
I'd rock a shirt.
Was that Lincoln or something? JFK, FDR.
It's a president.
I don't know. Trump.
No. Huge trails. They're huge.
They're huge.
Huge.
I did it. I did it all.
I did it all. Built them all. Huge trails.
This is not a podcast about politics. Actually, we are running for president this year.
Yeah, that is right. I do get weird looks when I wear that shirt, especially now.
I mean, we are the most competent too running.
Yeah. It's going to go real great. I'm going to send my vice president over some diplomatic immunity. Like, hey, I brought you guys some turnovers.
Maybe we'll finally get that 3 Mile Creek project finished in Mobile.
Jesus. No. In Fuego, shots fired, Sandy.
Oh, man.
Whoa. Soft member hears this, will be upset. Somebody did ask about the trials and tribulations of learning how to build trails and features. It's a great question. Kind of talked about it there. I think that's a whole show. I think at some point it is interesting. I'd love to actually have a proper trail builder on to juxtapose our viewpoint.
We know one now.
Yeah, we sure do.
I think he would be a great candidate.
He would be a perfect candidate. Bring somebody proper on to have that conversation, because I do think it's interesting to juxtapose us that are kind of figuring out how they did it, and there's going to be an overlap. You're going to see that there's overlap, as we found out, and so we'll put that in the episode queue for sure. I will tell you that just like building a trail is just like the community side. You've got to do it for the right reason. You've got to do it partly for yourself because you want to make sure there's somewhere to ride, but you also have to constantly think about who's going to ride this later. Because if you just if we allowed Jakey Poo to build trails, first off, they'd be just for 26-inch bikes, and they would ride very different. They'd be about
150 yards long.
Yep.
And
straight down.
Stop.
And lots of jump, like one big jump at the top that you just clear and huck flat to the bottom.
Yeah.
But you go as fast as possible. That's it.
Trail ADD.
100%.
That's his new shirt. I'm like that.
He doesn't. Yeah, we need it. He doesn't even listen to this show. So yeah, I think there's a big part of it on that side of it. And then you've got to love it. You've got to find some kind of joy in it. Because I will tell you, Dale is out there working during the week by himself, armed, rightfully so, but doing his thing. And so there's some reason, why do you go out there solo by yourself to do that? Or sometimes with Pat.
Yeah, Pat comes out too. He sneaks up on me occasionally, but
he's like a ninja.
He is a ninja. It takes him 5 hours to get over there, so
fair.
When
his helicopter's broken.
I do it just because it's actually, I do it because I'm like, damn, I've been talking about this for so long. I got to do it.
Right.
There's expectations that I've set in my own mind. No one else.
Right.
But it's like I've talked about, oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, but I'm not a person that says I'm going to do something and doesn't do it.
Yeah.
And also, there's something about not having your phone and just being out in the woods for hours. There's that hippie side of it that's really awesome.
No, I'm 100% with you. So we'll bring somebody on. I will say, I don't know what we're allowed to say yet, so I'm just going to Dale kind of teased a little bit about Rustin. That content hasn't come out. It got leaked. Thanks, folks. But crazy bunch of peoples. We did have an opportunity to ride something really interesting in Ruston, Louisiana. I don't think that's a secret because you can't hide it. It's right in the middle of the park. We did get to
open.
Is it open already?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, what's officially open?
Somebody, I don't know if it's official. Somebody posted that they rode there.
I don't think it's a grand opening yet, though.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
But we were able to ride a chunk of it, not all the trails. We got to tour all the trails, but we rode a chunk of it. And it's a project that Toby did that is Toby Cortez helped put together. And my God, man, is it phenomenal. And then we got to meet real trail builders. Now I call them some of the most legit in the country because they build in Bentonville.
No, they are rogue trail building.
Right.
I mean, they are some of the best in the country.
That's exactly right. And spend some time with those guys and get to see how they approach things. Dale even influenced the trail. We won't necessarily.
No, I was actually pretty stoked that he even listened to me. And then he's like, holy shit, that's a great idea. So it was like, wow.
Yeah.
All those hours I spent in the woods, I can see something.
But it was a humble thing.
No, it was very
because it's not what people think it is. It's
no.
The trail building community is super, 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 super humble.
Yeah.
And super laid back.
And he was like gracious enough to like talk to me about it. We talked through it. We looked at other things, and it was, and you know, like you get excited. Like I was excited. You probably hear the voice. Like I was excited about like, dude, but what about this? And he's like, wait a minute, tell me about that. So like we walked through, and it was really, really cool.
Yeah, it was. Dale was the Progressive commercial at one point.
No,
because the guy he's talking to is Tanner, and Tanner's a younger dude. He's fucking amazing human being, and he's talking to Tanner, and it just was. I was like, Dale, don't be like your parents.
Yeah, the Geico. Is it Geico?
Yeah, it's Progressive, I think.
Oh, Progressive. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, man, how many cars can you fit in this parking lot? You think $10 a car?
It was so legit, but we were asking legit questions as trail builders. But it really did. These two old dudes, more so Dale and me, but just doing this whole like, it was what it was. So,
man, how many miles you got on that Bobcat over there?
That's exactly right.
Thing runs good.
Keep them running so good. And the other thing I was going to mention, if you haven't seen it, Dale got invited to write an article for Trail Builder Mag, which is an actual paper magazine, which is rad as all get out. I think you can head over. They have a website, right?
Yeah, trailbuildermagazine.com.
There it is, trailbuildermagazine.com. That's where the article was posted. But also, I guess, will they put it in print?
Yeah, it should be in print. Maybe.
We don't know if you're going to be in print.
I don't know if I'll be in print. Maybe.
Somebody's going to be in print. But it is kind of cool to go back to a printed magazine. It's kind of rad. You don't see that much.
They're doing a lot of really awesome stuff with the magazine because they just did an article on women in trail building. That's really, really cool. They put a survey out. Emba actually shared it yesterday. They're trying to get more females involved. And it's just, they're basically talking about some of the same things that we've talked about. And Sean is really cool. Yeah. That's the editor, chief director, operating, whatever. He reached out and asked, let us be a part of it, which was really cool. Another cool part of getting to tell our story on another platform.
No, and it's good because, again, it's the same thing that we have like with our great fan base and our friends and our, I don't even really say fan base, but like the community, the Reb community, which if you're listening to this, you're part of that, even if you're a distant person in Canada. I would like to speak to our Canadian person. I know you're out there. I know you're there.
I'm looking. His phone number. There's only one.
There's one.
I do, actually.
It shows 1%. So that might be more than one person now.
Okay, maybe.
We're mostly American made. Mostly American made.
But
American muscle.
The other thing I wanted to say is like we have a ton of guest ideas and a ton of guests we want to bring on. Scheduling 3 people's times is really hard.
Yeah.
So it's hard to get all these people in at once. Like we want to. We have them. It's just trying to get time to line them all up. So
100%.
Keep listening. We're going to keep you on your toes with what comes out next.
Yeah, who knows? We don't even.
And we still have tons. I have a whole entire box of giveaway stuff that no one ever enters our contests.
Yeah.
For.
Yeah.
So I guess I'll just keep them.
So we'll just do a contest that the 5th person that just answers me on YouTube will get a prize.
Me. Okay, that's fair.
Yeah, you just get some random.
Okay, I got some of that. And the other thing, if you guys have time, just go on Spotify and click a little
or Apple
review.
Any
Apple, all of them. Give us a review.
Yeah.
Places. That's how we get more popped up in the queue or whatever. I don't know. We're trying to play the algorithm game.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, the only benefit, if y'all don't realize this, is that we've never monopolized on the situation. Like, our sponsors are people that we like, that we want to spend time with, that we want to endorse. They help us with support, not necessarily cash. They help us with other levels of support. So consider that. All I'm saying is that every time, any chance we get to take what we have and give it to the Rev community, which we defined as anyone listening, that's exactly what we're going to do. So if you can help us get up there more, then there's more opportunity for us to take that and give it right back, so we all have more fun. I mean, it's pretty simple. We're not doing this for us anymore. Like, it may have started out as something for Dale and I to do, and now all of a sudden it's become
I believe we had the conversation why it started was because we wanted to go to Sea Otter with media passes.
That is correct.
That's still on the table. That was legitimately a conversation we had. Like,
100%.
Let's start a podcast and then we'll go to Sea Otter with media passes.
Now that is 100% the absolute truth.
So if you guys want to start a GoFund Dale and Drew to go to Sea Otter,
we have and anybody watching or listening, we know we've met some amazing human beings that go to Sea Otter, and you guys are. This is how you all say it. You're like, yeah, it was just Sea Otter. I had to go to Sea Otter. It's like, what? You went to Sea Otter? Like, I didn't even know what it was, and now that I do, I just want to go.
And we'll have the same attitude when we get back.
Exactly right. and we'll come back and be like,
we started a sea puppy thing over here in the East Coast because it wasn't cool enough. It's called the Rebellion Sea Puppy thing. I don't know.
And the worst part is Dale and I are just douchey enough to be like, hey, what do those guys do? Why are they setting up a tent? Sir, you didn't pay for a tent here. It's like, oh, yeah, we did. We're the Ride the Rebellion podcast.
Oh, dude, I just made a tent too.
Why did you guys ship a tent out here? It costs $400 to ship it. Oh, it doesn't matter. We just Ride the Rebellion podcast. It's fine.
We got a flag. We just carry it around.
Listen, I'll do straight.
I'm not above any of it.
No. Somebody will be there. Nixon, make it happen. Get us to Sea Otter, Nixon.
Nixon, we'll just take you with us.
Yeah, Nixon, go with us. Get us to Sea Otter. Come together. We'll ride out there. We'll ride our bikes from Tallahassee to Sea Otter.
I'll meet y'all there.
Nixon would do it. We'd make a documentary, and it would be a brilliant. I'd make millions.
It would be
just him stopping in towns, just Nixon interacting with people as he rides across the country. Who wouldn't watch that?
That would be a great one.
It would be good if he survives it.
That makes it even more tantalizing. Will Nixon survive the next stop? And
we'll have like guest people show up along the way that can actually pedal it out and be like, "All right, here's bring the Boltons along."
It's called.
Nixon. I never hit this thing, and I did.
Nixon Insider.
Nixon Insider,
because he drinks ciders and not beer.
I know, but I was thinking
not IN, just the letter N.
The Insider. Okay.
Well,
that's going to do it for this episode of the Ride the Rebellion podcast. Just remember that Dale Boss says,
do it for your community, not for your ass.
Man on a mission, I'ma get it. You know I be on a what?